Hey guys.
What is up?
The Sky. So I brought the mic back. And right now, shout out to my aunt. She let me borrow her camera, so that's why I've been able to do good quality videos. But I will need to get my own camera very soon. The victim mindset is something that is inevitable because it's something that is about your pride and taking things personally. And obviously you're living your own experience, you're living your own process. So when I'm talking about this exact example of when you're experiencing victim mindset and accountability, that's when two people, you and the other person, both had a conflict, and you also not necessarily did something wrong, but it's just like you have to take accountability into the way that you're speaking, the way that you've been acting. Things like that, because when I've gotten humbled personally, I've just had so many relationships to where I'm direct about things, right? And I'm like, hey, whenever you did this, I felt this type of way, and I just wanted to communicate. And if I have an assumption too, because this ties into that too. So I keep looking over there because this person keeps like opening the door and closing the door across my balcony.
Yeah, a lot of the time we're just focused on what people are doing wrong that we forget to see what we're doing wrong. It's like that phrase that says life is a mirror. And it really is, because you're just focusing on things that maybe you need to work on, or there's something that pattern is just trying to tell you, and you should continue doing that. But maybe that's like a different topic.
Okay, here's an example. There was this person where I would communicate things that I disliked or like that bothered me, and then I would think, wait a minute, I just started to look more into myself. And again, every time that I look more at myself, I want to just disregard people's mistakes. It's a balance, because also I have to have self-respect, but at the end of the day, I know that I'm in my own process, everyone's in their own process, and it's okay for conflict to arise.
Exactly.
Yeah, that sounded like you said a bad word.
It did. But focusing on what the victim mindset means to me is when you're thinking of how hurt you are. Now, I want to say and emphasize what's helped me the most is also showing that side of me fully out. And I'm very intense, very passionate. So if you're gonna know whenever I'm really sad, really angry, really happy. Like my emotions are very vulnerable and transparent. Vulnerable? Yeah, that makes sense, right? Okay. I don't know why, now that I think about it, I say, does that make sense? Why am I asking the camera? Like, if it makes sense to me in the moment, then that's all that matters. So, Cassandra, you can no longer say that. But yes, there has been chapters in my life where I have just felt so disappointed with myself, with my unhealthy habits, unhealthy patterns. And I feel like I remember so clearly that feeling of and it wasn't just one moment, but it was like an era where I just felt really sad and disappointed at myself. And I think I made a post about it. Now I don't know if I deleted it because I wanted to just grab, so it was like a picture or like a video, I don't know. And I did a caption and it was just like saying how I felt. And I've also said it in other videos, but the point is that I fully say I feel this way. Like right now, that background noise, I don't know if you can hear in this little mic, but it annoys me. I say it out loud or I write it down. I'm like, I'm annoyed at this. I feel so mad. I feel so hurt. I feel so sad. Fully let it out. And then after all that crying out loud, talking out loud, crying I said the same thing. It's okay. Talking it over and over with friends and like, hey, this happened and I feel like this because why would they act like this, or why am I acting like this? And then there's silence, and there's just, you know what? I am going to reground myself, focus on the consciousness, and focus on long-term desires rather than short-term desires, which is just things that actually matter. Health can be debated as one of the most important things in the world, like your health. If you choose to focus on things that don't make you feel good, you're not going to feel good. And at the end of the day, we all just want to feel good.
And also, again, since we're talking about just those topics in general, my experience to when I've caught myself taking accountability and owning my story as time goes, it makes it easier for me to have this confidence. It's like a muscle, as y'all probably have heard, and you're strengthening it every single day by just getting more confident. I just don't want to feel any regret in any of my choices, even though they haven't been the best choices, because it has led me to think the way that I think now. Like, if I didn't know the experience of always going out and like having fun and like just all that, like when things occur that weren't planned, and I think about that, and I just then think about others people's mentality. Let's say someone's in a toxic relationship, right? I've never been in a toxic relationship, but because I've never dated anyone, but I've been in toxic environments, toxic friendships, I could say. Let's say that someone's in a relationship and they're dating for 3 years, but you know, like, you're that friend that you know the relationship and you're like, that is just not a good relationship. It's just bound to things go wrong and they need to end it, but they're both stringing each other along for that experience, right? My mind doesn't automatically go to, oh my god, yeah, I need to break up. Maybe subconsciously, yeah. But bringing that consciousness back, because taking accountability requires consciousness. When I see situations to where I could think, oh, that's wrong, right? I shouldn't do that, I wouldn't do that. But in reality, there's been scenarios where I would be like, oh, I'm not going to do this. And then I end up doing it. Minds change, moments change, people change. And at the end of the day, what most matters is my process. Everyone's, again, living their own process. And I live by that. That's why I repeatedly say it. Because I'm over here in my room, sitting down in this chair with a camera, with a mic, saying my experience with no one around. Well, I feel like we're both doing that.
I'm mainly focused on basically saying that we should, as people, have the responsibility in taking accountability for our actions. But let's say that you're in a situation where you are, quote unquote, the victim. Like, you didn't do anything wrong. My only point is that I personally, even when I get done wrong, I don't like to put too much of my energy. I get done wrong, right? I let it out. I tell myself, I feel like this because of this. And then I'm okay, but I'm not going to attach myself to that victim mindset is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I think we just need to unite these mentalities together. Victim mindset. I really like to emphasize to let yourself feel and be honest with yourself. But when it comes to situations and feelings that I believe I'm thinking more emotionally with, I have to remember that it's okay for me to feel disappointed that someone hurt me, hurt, right? Not letting that define that situation, like, oh, I was hurt. Because there's so many explanations to what that person is going through. And I know that a lot of people are going to be like, bro, you're just enabling behavior. I heard this quote and it really stuck with me. True revenge isn't making your life out to get that revenge to that person, but true revenge is accepting that situation and living a good life. I've never wanted to get revenge on anyone.
Ultimately, I have more respect for the other person and for myself when we're just clear about both sides within. In relationships, for them to blossom, there's gonna be conflict. Maybe not all the time, but it's gonna be that something that I realize that if I want to truly build a relationship with someone, it's not just gonna be me thinking, oh, I don't like that they did this, or I disagree with this. No, because in a relationship, there's going to be things that maybe they dislike, or maybe not dislike, but it's just not for them. We humans are different, of course. We all have different versions of ourselves. And it's up to us whether we want to continue a relationship with someone or not. And if you don't want to have a relationship with me, and I know you're just going to look at me with a serious face, it's okay. because I still need to detach from this idea that I have. Frankly, I would be willing to adapt to so many people's way of being, but it doesn't mean that I'm going to be close friends with them, or because it's something that I do already. I adapt to people. I'm just so understanding.
Whoever was wrong, like if I was wrong or if that person was wrong, whoever it was, I'm not going to be focusing my life on that. Because that's what memories do. They can mess with your brain for years. And I don't want to live in the past anymore. I don't want to live in the future. I'm just focused on where I'm going, but not necessarily depending on being at the future already, if that makes sense.
Because I'm so understanding for myself, it just makes me see the other person more clearly and think back to what's really important, which is, what does Cassandra truly need and want, rather than what I'm not getting from people. I don't know why I said it so separate.
Thank you for listening.